What is up, my kings and queens and all in between? It's Andrew Velasquez with another episode of Mindful Artist Podcast. Welcome back, you guys. Season 2. We're here. We're doing the thing. This is your one-stop shop place for all things mindfulness, creativity, while being an entrepreneur. And for today, your following episode with a lovely, lovely special guest. I have an amazing artist, you guys, that I can't wait to share with you their journey. So let me give you a little bio before I go into introducing them. So we have James Vincent, everybody. Welcome, James Vincent. James Vincent's passion and expertise through his work in fashion, editorial, runway, film, theater, television, music, and celebrity has been lauded as modern, exciting, and inspirational. As such, Nylon Magazine, the New York Times, and WWD have named James as a makeup artist to watch. As a true visionary in fashion and editorial, he is an in-demand premier guest artist working with makeup brands that includes MAC, YSL, Pat McGrath, Tom Ford Beauty, Fenty Beauty, and more. James is also a frequent collaborator, key artist for collections and key fashion week shows for every major fashion city across the world, working with such diverse designers as Ashton Michael, Charlotte Ronson, Chris Habana, and S by Serena Williams. His numerous editorial projects and campaigns with photographers Mick Rick, Alexander Thompson, Mike Ruiz, David Lachapelle, etc., have appeared in magazines that include ID V Paper Wonderland and Italian Vogue. His love of the arts and music has spanned genres with legendary artists that include Lady Gaga, Florence and the Machine, Doja Cat, Amy Winehouse, Joan Jett, and the Foo Fighters. James' virtuosity has also garnered the adulation of leading ladies like Liv Tyler, Reese Witherspoon, and Jane Fonda, as well as several high-profile influential men and women, including former President Barack Obama.
That's a
As
long bio.
I
They sent a
know.
long bio your way.
You're
I
good. I'm here
apologize
for
for
it.
that.
It's well earned, babe. It's well earned. As director of
Blushing.
education and artistry for the Makeup Show and the Powder Group, his unique and fresh approach to training, artistry, cultivation, and product development has him working with makeup artists at all levels of the industry. Concurrently, he is the beauty editor for the On Makeup and Pony Boy magazine and a frequent contributor to countless blogs and publications, including Refinery 29. James has grown his fan base exponentially through his former podcast, The Makeup Show, with Vanessa Merricks, and his reoccurring appearances as a beauty expert on television shows like NBC's The Today Show, CBS The Morning, This Morning, and NY1. Through his fashion beauty how powers, training artists, cultivation methods, and his driving force in the industry. James is a true chameleon across all genres of artistry, and not to mention your Rebels and Outlaws um, brand that you own as well. Welcome,
And that's the
welcome,
whole
James
podcast. The whole
Vincent.
podcast is just reading my overly long bio. I apologize. Different bios for different things.
No, babe, it's well earned. I wanted to read all of it because I mean, I cropped a little bit, but still, it's amazing. Like, how does it feel to hear your accomplishments, to hear all the things that you
Feels
have?
old. It
No,
makes me feel old.
wise
Um,
and seasoned. How about
yeah,
that?
I'm cool being old. It's cool. I'm like
Yeah,
super leaning into like daddy mode, so I'm okay with it.
I mean, you're a hot daddy, so there's nothing wrong with that. And the husband is happy, so that's all that matters, right?
Keep the
I
boys
love
happy.
it.
You're good to
I
go.
love it. Thank you so much for being here. This is so cool. I've known you and collaborated in some degree for so long, and to finally have this like in-depth conversation about your journey as an artist and how you got to be where you are. I'm very grateful for that. So thank you for your contribution to our community, to our industry, to everything that you have done. It's like really inspiring for all of us. So I just want to commend you for that. And
Thank you. I feel like you and
um
I have always been very aligned with the way we love education and community and we had a conversation you probably won't remember, but like at the makeup show LA years ago now, where we talked about like competing only against ourselves. And I think
yeah,
that that is my group of artists, the artists that I tend to surround myself with that become my friends and family and the agencies
yeah,
I align myself with. That's how we work. We want to bring
yeah,
everyone else up.
yeah. No,
Elevate.
you said it
Thank you
perfectly.
for what you do.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, babe. No, I feel like, yeah, there's so much. room for growth for everyone out there and opportunity for their own legacy and their own. That's why we're placed on this beautiful earth. That's my background, is showcasing that, is to uplift one another. And that's why I wanted to create the safe space of mindfulness, creativity for everybody, and just, you know, to celebrate each other's accomplishments. But can we go a little rewind? Can we go a little flashback in the
Yeah.
past and see how was baby James Vincent? Where are you from? Were you always creative, and how was it growing up wherever you were raised?
I think I was always creative. Uh, like my dad coached sports and stuff, and all my brothers played sports. And my dad, they'd be like, "Hey, Jimmy, what position does your kid play?" And he'd be like,
Hey,
He likes to paint and draw." Um,
yeah,
but I grew up in Providence, Rhode Island, Rhode Island is the smallest of the 50 states. The whole state is smaller than like cities like Los Angeles.
yeah,
And it's a very diverse place. It's very liberal,
yeah,
very working class, but there's also a lot of universities and colleges there. And so there's a lot of languages spoken. There's a lot of food. It was founded on freedom of religion. So there is a
yeah.
whole like kind of liberal, kooky contingent to the city I grew up in.
That's so
And
cool.
yeah, and I think I kind of always leaned into the arts, but I did feel very outsider. I was a really shy kid. I was a really quiet kid. I was a really lonely kind of kid. I grew up in a really large, really loud, very Catholic family. I grew up in an
Yeah.
immigrant family. And so I think when you grow up in those immigrant families, and you grow up in those, I was the oldest son, there's a lot of
Mhm.
pressure to kind of bring the family forward. And so, I was a total nerd. I loved books, I loved school, and I really thought education was kind of going to be my way out.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't
Okay.
love where I grew up, but I think there's that thing with queerness where, you're kind of divergent to everything. And so I think the gift of queerness was I kind of always knew I had to be in another city. And I remember reading magazines, watching music videos, and thinking like I loved all of that, but that thought that some like fat weird kid from a poor family could ever work in that world
Mm.
seemed impossible. If you grow up in LA,
Mhm.
I think it feels very real. But if you grow up in the smallest state across the country, it
Yeah.
I didn't know. So I went to school for social work. That's my degree. And
Very cool.
I was writing my dissertation on women of color and the white beauty myth in the 90s. Um, Growing up in a mixed family, I kind of didn't see us anywhere. There were no black women on the cover of magazines. There were no Latino women winning Emmy Awards.
Mhm.
We were kind of invisible. There was no size or shape or color. Like my family was nowhere. And so I started looking at that and studying that. And that dissertation kind of led me into makeup. And I was a club kid, and I did makeup in Atlanta. I was in Atlanta at that time doing my master's, and the kid scene there and the music scene there were so crazy. It was still like RuPaul and Lady Bunny, and
Yeah.
um music was happening there, LaFace music and music
Mm.
videos. It was just a good time. And so I kind of leaned into that and started in makeup. And then Mac hired me. And
Yeah.
I really was just a club kid. I wasn't a makeup artist. And it changed my whole life, and I
Yeah.
kind of fell into it. I say I'm an accidental artist, but I love kind of where my life has gone.
Yeah, no, I love hearing that too, that you, as a minority, I can relate to, even coming from a big city. I did not know that that was the smallest state in all of America. So thank
Most
you for
people don't
sharing
even
that
know
too.
it's a state. So you're ahead of the game.
Yeah, the fact that you took it upon yourself to educate yourself and to want to make a statement for more minorities, and and educate everyone else around you. I think that's so cool, and that I also love that Mac has brought so many people special,
Yeah.
unique, creative, weird individuals like ourselves to branch off into their own. And it says a lot about how cool that, not that they're not cool now, but when, it was first founded by two amazing artists that were about the artistry of it, right? And it was
Yeah.
about the uniqueness of the individual. And it shows a lot how they invested into their employees, because through their futures and through the experience that they had with the company, they venture off like yourself and myself to do their own thing.
Yeah.
Like that's how much they were inspired by this amazing company to do and further their own, passions and crafts. So
I
when
think
did
it
that?
was also, their ability to see something. At that
Yeah,
time when I started with Mac, there were only 2 stores in the US. And
yeah,
you really had to be a makeup artist. You had to have a portfolio and all of that, and I didn't. And so
yeah,
they brought me and they had kind of headhunted me because of my customer service. And so what they did was they put me in this intensive program to really kind of train me on the basics of makeup. And that opened up everything for me. Like I will always be grateful for that. I haven't worked for Mac since 1996, and I
yeah,
still offer gratitude every
yeah.
time I, do it. And I've done projects for them and they've brought me in to do
Of
different
course, of
things and
course.
educate, but I
Once you're
haven't been
Mac
an
family, that's
employee.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, and I think that's how I look at makeup. And I remember being in Atlanta, working at Mac. I was still in school. I was working at Mac. I was working at a clothing store because clothing was expensive and you had to kind of dress. At that time, you couldn't wear jeans and sneakers. But I guess Mac really you could wear anything. And I worked at CNN every morning when it was still Turner. And I
Amazing.
remember sitting in that cafeteria and saying, like, if I ever can help anybody else figure this out, I will, because it was so hard. And Mac was such a beautiful community, but
Yeah.
getting into the bigger pieces of the industry were so difficult. And then one day I was just at the counter and a woman kind of approached me, and that's what brought me into celebrity and music industry. She brought me into LaFace. I started working with groups like TLC, assisting artists like Billy B. Um, and that changed me again, because I think I always had mentors and people who saw something in me, um, which made me want to do that in return, you know?
Yeah.
And then I moved to New York. Urban Decay Cosmetics hired me away from Mac and moved me to New York
Yeah.
City. And that's when I started assisting Kevin Aquan. And
Incredible.
like then I knew, like I dropped out of school. I was getting my master's degree. I left school. I started doing makeup full time. And now,
Yeah.
and decades of makeup.
Right. Wow. 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 Yeah, we have so many listeners and viewers that are wanting to follow, your footsteps and look up to your portfolio. And I wanted to see if you can share any tips or advice for aspiring, future MUAs of the world, but also while looking to incorporate more creativity and spirituality into their work.
I think that they're very connected for me. I think that
Absolutely.
you have to find yourself. I think that's one of the best advice. I talk about it a lot on stages and stuff, but I remember working with Kevin Aquan, which is what everybody wanted to do. And it just wasn't my makeup. Like it wasn't my personality. And Kevin kind of saying to me, like, you've got to find your own style. And then introducing me to Dick Page, who was much more my aesthetic, and then working with people like Linda Cantello and Pat McGrath, and you kind of pull pieces of what you're learning, but you have to find your own authenticity, you have to find your own aesthetic, you have to find your own voice. And what I found was my voice was very much connected to education and community. I've never been the best makeup artist. I have people on my team that are just starting out that are technically much better technical artists than I am. So I had to build my creativity. I had to build my aesthetic. I had to make sure I was the most professional to work with. I have to really work sometimes on the artistry pieces, but the creativity
Mhm.
comes very naturally. And so I learned to harness that. And then I always kind of had this witchy, wellnessy, hippie side.
Yeah, of
And so,
course.
yes, for the beginning of my career, I would make my grandmother taught me how to make candles early on, and so I would make
Oh,
these candles, and I would make perfumes for people. I would make I call them potions at Rebels and Outlaws, but I would use hydrants
yeah.
and essential oils and crystals, and do skin fresheners. I would create playlists for people, so when they came in to my space, you know, it had the aesthetic was also this, and that for me felt very wellness driven. And people would say to me like, you can't do that, you can't bring these cards onto set, you can't bring your candles onto set, you can't burn sage. And even when I started Rebels, like people that we know were like, stay in your lane, just do makeup, this is, you know.
Hmm.
And I would say no, it's our role. We work so intimately with people. We tap into the elements of art, but also our own creativity, our own experience, our own emotion.
Yeah.
We work with people's vulnerabilities, insecurities. If there's not a wellness element for us creating sacred spaces and taking care of ourselves and being very mindful about how we touch someone, how we talk to someone, you know, and how we leave that, what do we bring into our own home? I
Yeah.
Rebels and Outlaws honestly because I was leaving the best of myself with my clients and coming home depleted from my husband. You know, I
Yeah.
did a big project with Fenty and was so exhausted
Of course.
that I
Yeah.
didn't need to do. And I did an artist retreat that Michael DeVellis and Joe DeLude and I do with the Powder Group every year called Evolution. And
So cool.
I came back from that week and Jeremy, my husband, said, "Are you taking the job with Fenty? Like, this is huge money. It's a huge position." And I said, "You
Yeah.
know, I think I'm going to make candles because I love artists need
Yes.
that wellness element, that mindful
Yeah.
element, that how can we create, you know, without caring for ourselves?
Period.
It doesn't make any sense. And so I kind of feel like that's my role. I've spent decades talking about community, talking, you know, I just put together my mindful action program for Michael. And I think this is like 15 years of mindful action, which
Yeah.
is, you know, the fact that the Powder Group was talking about wellness 18 years ago, 15 years ago. I think that that's kind of a big thing in beauty. So
Hold up. Like this is what I'm talking about. I feel like I'm talking to myself. I love you so much. I feel like you are yeah, we speak the same language. I understand everything that's coming out of your mouth. I resonate with every word that you like are preaching. Yes, spray all of it.
yeah, a
And
little rose water to
I'm
say
so grateful. I'm full of gratitude because it's not a coincidence. The fact that the universe has brought all these beautiful lights together within our industry itself. I'm talking you, Michael DeVellis, Joe, Melanie Mills, you know, like all these special lights, like I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it, that I know we've all like made an impact within each other's lives. Therefore, it is our obligations to do that with the rest of the freaking world. Does that
100%.
make sense?
Even,
So,
you know, we say even with the makeup show, when we go into other cities, what some people don't know is that Shelley donates to different charities, traditionally women's charities, queer charities, things like that. And we mentor in different schools because you cannot take from a community without giving back to a community. And so
yeah,
with the Powder Group, with the makeup show, with my own artistry, it's essential, you know,
yeah,
like
yeah,
so many people
yeah.
now are focused on like their likes and their follows and their
Hmm.
for me it's like if you are not kind, if you are not putting the best of yourself forward and you're not bringing everybody else with you, if you're not building safe spaces for people, who cares how many followers you have? You know what I mean? Like to me it's like focusing
Hmm.
on the wrong stuff.
Also, the right substantial followers will follow as you're supposed to karmatically you know,
100%.
connect. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's not even about the quantity, it's the quality of the people, that the groups that are really supposed to hear these messages and hear these words, and then in return they also do that for somebody else. Like, and that's the
100.
whole point of my Artist podcast, is like to have this safe space, because I kept researching, like, and I love podcasts, but that I had different ones that I would go to for different things, you know, one for artistry, one for mindfulness, one for entrepreneurship. And I'm like, hold up, like I am all those things. James
Yeah.
Vincent is all those things. Melanie Mills is all those things. We can house this in one safe space for everybody to learn and to make a difference in their own lives. So, oh, I'm so grateful to have you here. Like, thank you so much. I want to ask you so many things. Okay, so Rebels and Outlaws, I'm a fan. I love the products. I have the sanitizers. I have the candles, I always try to have like a new one for either a birthday or I don't know, something substantial like a new moon or a new year. Actually, today's a new moon too, and it's a
Yep.
new moon in Capricorn, which I'm a Capricorn. But I wanted to ask James, what practices or routines do you have in place to nurture your creativity and spirituality while running your businesses?
For me, it starts with daily changes. Um, and coming out of long-term COVID and really COVID really knocked me down. It took a lot from me. Um, so I really had to look at my daily practices.
Yeah.
Um, and so, for me, every morning starts with a little bit of breath work, meditation,
Mhm.
some type of movement. Now I'm able to go to the gym, but when I wasn't, just a walk, just those type of things. Working on
Yeah.
my breathing, realizing how precious my breath was after having so many issues with my lungs, and being locked down in New York City.
Yeah.
Uh, Meditation, gratitude every morning. I have to really, even on those days where maybe I'm not feeling it, maybe I keep a gratitude journal so I can go back on those days and remind myself.
Yeah.
Connection to other people. I try and draw or paint or have some type of artistic practice every day now. I take a lot of classes. I take a lot of education, like cross education, not just makeup driven, but art classes, figure drawing, lighting classes,
Hmm.
classes with other people that work in wellness. It's essential because that creativity, right? That like fire in your belly that needs to be stoked, that
Hmm.
needs to be cared for. And so I really am about encouraging other people to figure out what practices they can find to keep their creativity flowing, their
Yeah.
artistry flowing, but in small measures, because I think that especially in the United States, we have this big moment of like new year, new me.
Yeah.
And I really think it's in those small moments that can be very sacred. The way I make a soup, the way I have dinner with friends, the
I love
way
that.
I, I don't know, whatever it is, find inspiration and then bring it to the page.
Hmm.
The way I treat another person, those things for me, those little daily actions of mindfulness become much larger as you start to put them together and practice them. And then I pull that into set. So I pull cards every day for myself. Now my clients have started asking for them, but I kind of put together something special for my clients. So I always come
Yeah.
to them with music or a playlist, a candle. Um, my potions are for the skin, but also for smudging a space when I can't burn something. And it's just
Hmm.
essential oils and hydrosols. I use hand sanitizers that have crystals, and so like little moments that for me just pull me back to the creativity. And so then I have that creativity that I can share and put forward in a way that is very much about the individual and very much about making that moment special instead of
Yeah.
running or whatever. I stood on a stage at, I want to say, the artist summit with the powder group, because I feel like Michael was that I was freaking out. But I kind of apologized to people because I said, I've talked about the hustle for so many years because that's how I was raised in the industry.
Sure. Sure.
And what I have come to realize in the last few years is it's about alignment. It isn't about running
Mm.
forward with no direction or moving faster or harder than everybody else. It's about stopping and listening and letting your own passion, right? Your own goals, your own needs kind of pull you towards
Yeah.
what is yours.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I uh firsthand can speak on my personal testimony just being raised in Los Angeles, and that was, where I grew up. I didn't know anything else beyond that. So inevitably in a huge metropolitan city that you're going to be immersed into just kind of like noise and not even aware of it. Um, and it wasn't until moving to and more Orlando, Florida, where I'm at now, which we've been here for a year and a few months now, that I realized I was like, addicted to chaos and to like stress.
Oh
I
my
was
God.
like, oh, I was looking for that anxiety to go from set to salon to the school to wherever and drive in traffic, and I was not aware that I was accustomed to that energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And now when I'm
100%.
when I'm here, I'm like, oh, I don't have to have anxiety like that anymore. I don't have to drive 3 hours to the Inland Empire or to Orange County or to wherever I was going and take this kit and go from that set to this set. Like I can just work remotely and work at a salon and just teach. Oh yeah, like I can be present. So everything you're saying as far as like resetting, and I've kind of been doing that, not even really knowing. I haven't used tarot cards, but I have these deck of words of affirmations that I use with my guests and my clients when they sit. I have them pick one, and that's literally that sets the tone for that session. So it's like, James, are you in my like head? Like, what is going on? Like, you're doing all the things that I just kind of been practicing on my own. Like, but it doesn't. It makes sense, and I'm not surprised by it. Like, I'm not surprised that we're all drawn towards each other to some degree too. And I
Well,
know you're going to show us something, but I want to talk about Rebels and Outlaws some more. Go ahead, show us.
I well, I was gonna say, I don't think I realized that I had anxiety until COVID hit. Like I thought I didn't return texts because I was always busy. I was shooting 2 or 3 times a day, going from location to location, doing all that. I didn't realize that I had a kind of panic about me because everyone in New York is at that vibration and that level. And then when
Period. Yeah.
COVID hit, all of a sudden I was like, I need to figure out a way to really kind of deal with these things. And it is also kind of about looking at your ego. You know, I think it was
Mhm.
very difficult for me in a way to go from doing these very high profile editorials, high profile celebrities. Danessa Myrick's and I just had a conversation about it. And then to say, you know what, I don't enjoy doing celebrities for red carpets. I find it to be stressful and it's not where I can be the most creative. Fashion Week, which other people look at as chaos and you know, I love. So I think it was also
Yeah.
stepping back and saying what fulfills me. The title
Mm.
artist is so broad that you can really kind of use that title and education and career to do a lot of different things. And I think I had to kind of push my ego aside and say, not what brings me the most notoriety, but what feels the best to me. And turning down high profile clients who, you know, were paying well just because I knew it wasn't a fit wasn't easy for my agent or myself, but I knew for my own mental health I had to do that. I'm just pulling
Yeah.
cards. So I don't work with tarot cards. I work with oracle cards, and this is a deck from
Yeah.
a great energy
Okay.
person out of LA,
Yes.
Marcella Krall, called Nature Nurture. And so my card for us is forgiveness, the doves.
Oh.
Yeah, and
Okay. I love that.
I love that. And I use these, you know, for me, it's like pulling cards and stuff. It's almost just like a daily affirmation, you know, a daily direction. Like I know, okay, like now I'm going to be mindful about forgiveness all day, forgiving other people, forgiving myself, forgiving. And I think that that's just a little spark that I need sometimes to do those things. And I think my clients like that too. So I bring my cards onto set
Yeah.
as
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, no, it's same thing. Your sanitizer, I will not only use it myself, but it's almost like a little ritual where I'll have us use it together, inhale, exhale, and boom, we can get
well.
started. You know what I mean? It's like a
Yep.
whole thing. Tell us about Rebels and Outlaws. When did that start? How did it start? And for those of us that are not aware of it, like how can they research it?
Well, Rebels and Outlaws, the name kind of comes initially when I was in New York before I could get my own agent, when I was still assisting people like Pat and Dick and all of those people. It was very hard sometimes to get seen if you didn't have an agent. And so a few of my friends and I got together and we started a collective and we called it Rebels and Outlaws. And we would just send each other's
Nice.
invoices, following up on each other's invoices, kind of because you couldn't play the bad guy, you know, and this is really before everything was virtual. So it was like sending your book around and like, you know, sending things in the mail. And so we kind of created a way to support each other as artists. And then what we found was people would say, like, oh, who represents you? And we would say, oh, Rebels and Outlaws. And no one wants to not know someone. So people would say, like,
Yeah.
oh, you
Yeah.
know, and it was just basically like 3 of us with a desktop computer, you know, doing
Sure, sure. That's so cool.
um, and so then we kind of used it as a way to kind of represent artists. And it kind of morphed. And Jeremy, my husband, and I were both on a big project, launching Fenty, working with Rihanna. I interviewed 2,800 makeup artists for Rihanna all over the world. And offers were coming in because I was doing these very high profile things and shooting. And I just felt, this sounds so horrible, babe, because it was what I worked for. Like I wanted those magazines, I wanted those major clients. And then I got there and I felt so alone and so empty. And I did this artist retreat with Michael, that we do every year. And it was like a shift happened. And I just said, okay, I'm not the only artist going through this. All of my artists here are experiencing something similar. And Jeremy has always been that person that can kind of, if it's important to me, it's important to him. And so I just came home and I was like, this is what I want to do. And he bought me a candle making kit. And it really started very small. I really thought it would just be like for a few people, a few things.
Yeah.
And so Rebels at Outlaws is about protecting your energy, preparing your space, curating something for your client, and then also caring for yourself through the process. And so things like the candles, I think what people don't realize is like I touch every candle. It's my favorite thing to do. But when, say, you ordered a candle from me, every candle I sigil it, I prepare all of the crystals, because I want them
It
to have
makes it even more special.
yeah. And so what I do is each candle is kind of like an unguided meditation. I use ingredients to bring across something very specific, like Phoenix from the Flame is kind of a burgundy candle. Black candles are about letting go of negativity in the past. Red candles are about bringing that passion back, right? Igniting that again. So this color wise will do that. And then it has like chocolate, and which is about like love and kind of the heart. And then smoke, which is about vision. And it's kind of reminding you, this is called Phoenix from the Flame. And then I choose crystals that kind of are also about bringing you back, remembering who the fuck you are and like what you're capable of, but in a way that feels empowered. So it's just a candle, but in my mind, when this is on set with you or this is in your, in your office, it is bringing all of that intention of the essential oils, of the crystals, of the colors, all of these kind of magical practices in one place. And the same like with this is Busy Hands is a hand sanitizer that I just keep on my, where my computer is, and it's an old Italian money spell. So this is like what my aunts would do, to kind of bring the cash in, and you're putting that on your hands. So it's like in that moment, you're having that mindful moment of like, okay, I'm bringing all good things to me in abundance, And
I love
so I
it.
feel like Rebels serves purposes in like, yes, it's sanitary and disinfecting product that meets CDC requirements, but without chemicals, without all of those things. And every ingredient that we work with, every crystal, every piece of every product is also sourced from our friends, other small companies, female
Yeah,
owned, queer owned, Black, brown, BIPOC owned, because that's also important. So it's like, yeah,
absolutely.
the candle that you're lighting on your desk, but I wanted people to have those moments of mindfulness. And so that's why I kind of use Rebels in a way to empower artists. We do a lot of charity. We do a lot of candles. A few of our candles right now are 100% of the proceeds go to different charities, and we try and
That's
connect in
amazing.
other artists and other people. And yeah, it's like
I'm
it's
so
a
proud of
little
you.
baby that's kind of grown much bigger than I ever thought it would.
And you should be very proud of that too. It's touched so many people's lives, and it's going to make a big impact in this world, period. I see big things for it, and I'm thinking about the sanitizer. I'm all out. I need to get some more.
we can
So
we can share.
rebelsandoutlawscom, is that correct?
rebelsandoutlawsnyc.com.
Perfect. But I'll put everything in the description so you guys can follow that. Beautiful. I love that. Okay, so you're successful, you're an entrepreneur, you're published, you're well known, you're just all the things that people, look up to and aspire to be. But at this point in your career, like how do you measure success in both your creative and entrepreneurial pursuits? Do they ever overlap?
Success is one of those things that I think it's such a difficult word. I think that sometimes people, especially makeup artists, think there's going to be a moment where all of a sudden it all becomes very easy, where all of a sudden it becomes, you've made it. And I would say from working with celebrities and working with makeup artists, it's not. It's a constant movement forward to keep that momentum, and I think if you are not aligning your goals for success, because I'm a big advocate of like setting goals, measurable, achievable goals, and looking at your behaviors and your work to get towards these goals. If you're not looking at who you are, where you are, meaning the reality of your situation, like if you're a mom with 3 small children, your goals probably have to adjust to that. If I live in a certain city, my goals have to adjust to that. And then I have to look at who I am. And so for me, the way that I mentor in programs like Danessa Myricks and I and Shelley Tagar have iArtist, which is our year-long mentor program. It's very much about aligning your wellness and your wholeness and your community, work with your own personal goals, because we don't live in a vacuum. And so I really try and encourage any artist who's ever worked with me, I really encourage them to take care of themselves, take care of their community, and work on aligning their values and their belief systems and their, passions with their aesthetic and their goals and their financial and success goals. I think when I was young, I thought success was financial, or notoriety. And now I'm 50 years old. I've been doing this since I was 20.
Yeah.
Uh,
Looking fabulous still.
I know Joe told me I need Botox because I don't do.
No,
Yeah,
no, you're fine. Your
I'm a
skin is
daddy.
glowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Success is waking up every day and being able to do the things I want to do with the people I want to do them with, and going to sleep every night feeling like, even if I haven't accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish, I did it with authenticity and I did it with integrity. And I do feel like sometimes it's hard in makeup. I know people have, made fun of me because I'm like a Pollyanna and I'm like, everybody hug. And this is about community. There was a while where one of the pro stores in LA, all of their people would laugh. Like they had a joke every time that I used the word community on stage. They would
Ew.
make fun of me for it.
Ruiz.
And this is in the past and we've taken care of it all, but one of the
Yeah, yeah.
brothers like brought me a gift and was like, this is not me being trite, this is not me being whatever. I truly believe that good, kind is important, and I truly believe those things. And I think sometimes in a competitive industry, people look at those things as weakness. But for me, I guarantee if you tie your personal to your professional ideas of what success are, you will get much further. And for me, it's no longer just about being happy or just about being financially secure. It's about being fulfilled. Am I doing something every day that I enjoy doing? That is success for me,
Preach. Oh, it's like chills up and down my body. I love your vocabulary, all the words, everything you say. It's just, yeah, I feel like we could talk for hours. It makes a lot of sense. All of it is just like you're in my head a little bit, James. You really are. It's so bizarre, but it's not. Very cool. All right, you guys. So for season 2, 2024, we have a new segment that I am very excited about.
The library is open! Because reading is what?
Fundamental.
There you have it, darling.
This is a great space for our guests to share their current or favorite book that they've read in the past. So it is called The Library is Open. James, Vincent, please share with us your book that you're currently reading and your top 3 reasons why.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna say one of my books of all time, because I was torn, is Audre Lorde, Zami, A New Spelling of My Name, which is a great biomythography. If you are struggling with like being able to stand up and be yourself, Audre Lorde is a great, great feminist writer from the third wave. But the book that I'm reading now, and to be honest, reading for the second time in a few months, is The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick
Ooh.
Rubin. And I'll tell you, it's changing everything for me. And it was one of those weird things where like John Hennessy, who, if you don't know John, he's a great artist and educator out of Vancouver. He's also my agent with Nobasura, and he recommended it to me. And then I got on a plane with Danessa Myricks, and she recommended it to me. And then I got home, and Joe Dulude recommended it to me. And it was like, so all of these artists who I love, not just as artists, but as people, like this is my family, were reading this book. So I picked it up, and Joe said, it's a very easy read. And the first time I read it, I really did. It's like 3-page chapters, and it's very much about like encouraging you to keep your creativity going and to look at your own creativity. And now I'm going through and I'm spending about a week on each chapter. So
Mm.
3 pages, but
It's
every
you're
day,
hearing it differently now.
yeah. Because like right now I'm looking at the idea of like distraction over procrastination. Wow. Like it changed the way I thought about it, because I
Yeah.
thought, and you know, as artists, especially at this time of year, especially when goals feel really overwhelming, especially when tasks feel difficult, I think it becomes very easy to put it off. And so it has now changed my behavior, because I'm saying like, what are these little things that I can do to keep moving forward in my mindfulness, in my self-care practices, in my career trajectory. So this book, I recommend it for everybody. It is
I love
like,
the cover. For those of you that are
yeah,
watching on
it's
YouTube,
really
and if
great.
you're
And I mean,
listening,
Rick
it's
Rubin
so
is
cool.
so music is also such a big part of what I do.
Yes.
Music involved in everything. And
Yes.
Rick Rubin is so iconic in his work in the music industry and the artists that he's worked with. So it's also feels like someone who understands what it means to be a creative who also monetizes our creativity. Because I think that's also sometimes very difficult, is it's very easy sometimes to think artist is at one level and people who make their money making art are at another level. And I think, you know, we have to so often bring the balance between art and commerce
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
what we're doing.
Well said, babe. I love that. Oh my God. So cool. All right. So we have the Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. And then your other favorite one was Audre Lorde. I
Audre
forgot the name.
Lorde, yeah,
Okay,
Zami, A New Spelling of My Name. It's a great
beautiful.
biomythography. Audre Lorde is a feminist writer from the third wave, but also is one of the first kind of Black women, queer women in the LGBTQ movement and in the women's movement to kind of talk about the idea of making our own space, of kind of being
Beautiful.
ourselves. And you know, she calls artists the lunatic fringe, those kind of sister outsiders. And I think that's such a great description for kind
Yes.
of what we do in the world. We have to be disruptors. We have to
Period.
space for other people. You know, like my quote that I'm using with my artist this year at iArtist is, Anas Nin, you know, had I not created my entire world for myself, I surely would have died in someone else's. And so I think it's this idea of like how
Wow.
we have to create our own spaces, but also how we have a responsibility as artists to create safe space for other people, to help other people feel seen, to help other people
Yeah.
feel heard and cared for. And I think makeup artists are naturally so good at that. And those two books are kind of sometimes when I need that reminder right
It
now.
embodies it. It
Yeah,
embodies it. Yeah.
completely that.
That's so
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you so much, James. Okay, cool. I wish I had like a whole other hour with you.
Sorry, I'm a
But this,
talker.
no, I love the talking. This leads me into my other favorite part of the podcast called Wrapping Up Mindful Artists Rapid Cues. I'm going to ask
Okay.
you 3 questions, James Vincent, wherever you are at the
Okay.
top of your head. Doesn't have to think about it too hard, but just intuitively.
Okay.
Question number 1.
Okay.
Who is your hero and why?
Oh my God. Yeah, quick. Wow. I mean, I want to say there are so many people in politics and art and music that are heroes to me, that inspire me. But I'm gonna be like a mama's boy and say like my mom. She
Yeah.
just
What's mama's name?
Carol.
Shout
Yeah,
out to Carol.
she like just does it. She did it all, and she overcame so much, and she still does it with like a kindness and like care. And I don't know, as tough as things were, I think we never knew it. She was raising us on her own, and I don't think we ever knew how difficult it was because she always made it look easy and we always felt taken care of. And as an adult, looking back at a woman who not only made her family but went from being a single mom to like vice president of a bank and doing all of those things, I don't think I ever realized how tough it was or how tough it would be. And that's why with the makeup show and stuff, we do so much for moms because I'm a mama's boy. And
Yeah. I love
like,
that.
and I would say if you want something more like artistic, I would say um I have so many people that inspire me. So hard. Hero is such a difficult word
I
for.
know. It is for many. I've in the past people have said like a personal one and then an artist one.
Yeah, I would say an
Yeah.
artist who inspires me. Like Joan Jett. Like
Yeah.
I'm just.
Your client too. No
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah, it's kind of like a big, like I as
What
a
an
teenager,
icon.
I would like listen to her music and then like,
Talk about rebels and outlaws.
yeah, really, it's like, 27 labels turned her down and she knew she had a hit. And so they produced it themselves. They started their own record label and there were 4 number ones on that album, and it's like so many artists that I work with hire me because I work with Joan, and then they say, especially female artists, she's the reason I picked up a guitar. She's the reason I did that.
Yeah.
And she's still doing it. And I think like
Hell yeah.
so many of the great things that have happened to me in my life are because clients included me in something.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So she comes top of mind. But like
I love it.
I'm always inspired. I'm inspired by everybody I meet.
Yeah. Well said. Cool, cool. All right, wrapping up my Florida's Rapid Cues. Question number 2 for James Vincent. What is your favorite music album of all time?
These are literally. I would I would say probably Joni Mitchell's Blue album is an incredible album. Lauryn Hill, Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is one of my favorite albums of all time. Carole King Tapestry, but probably Fleetwood Mac Rumors. If we're talking like all time, this is like the music that I
Yeah,
grew.
like you're on a deserted island. You have one Discman, one CD to play from
Yeah,
beginning to
probably
end.
Fleetwood Mac Rumors.
Good job. I love that. Okay, very cool. I knew you were gonna pick something like badass too, but also like heartfelt. All right. Question number 3, wrapping up Mindful Artist Rapid Cues for James. What is your favorite quote?
Oh, I have to look at my phone, if that's okay, because
That is okay. Yes.
I miss.
But I love the songs or the albums that you and the artists you have chosen. Joni Mitchell, Lauryn Hill, for your favorite music album of all time. That's so cool. And then Mama Carol as your hero. And Joan
So
Jett.
yeah, I know. I'm like, I have a weird thing. Like I admire people. I spend a lot of time in gratitude and admiration for people. And so for every artist that I listen to, for every activist that I work with, I see them as a hero in that role. So it's difficult for me to kind of choose one.
I
Um,
understand.
Same with a quote, but this is my quote right now. Had I not created my whole world, I would certainly have died in other people's. And I think, January for me is kind of like easing into a new year. And that quote is really powerful for me right now because I think sometimes we need to remember that. Like we are responsible for what we create around us. And I think I've been really thinking about the idea of artists, right, who are counterculture, and queerness, which is counterculture. And I think we're really called to create our own lives and to create our own space and to create that to be open for other people as well. So I don't know,
Yeah.
like quotes are also one of those things that come and go for me, but that's kind of where I am right
Yeah,
now.
no, it's whatever resonates with you currently and where you're present. And you actually said this a little while ago as you were talking about the Powder Group next mindfulness workshop that you guys are going to be doing. So no, I'm here for it. Had I not created another world, I would have died for other people.
I've died in someone else's. What is
Oh yeah.
yours?
Right now, I'm here to shake shit up. Yeah, no, I had all these reservations of moving to a conservative state and, hesitations and doubts, but honestly, the universe like showed me otherwise. It opened up to just other community and like-minded people like myself, and it's really proven me that we can create community wherever we go.
Yes.
And as long as my husband and I have that same kind of like value in life and the same kind of philosophy, and we're supporting one another throughout our own journeys, then we're good. We're going to be happy wherever we go. And I really do feel we have a big purpose here. And so that's why like all these other little things like my book and the palette, now the podcast have come about since then. And this is just the beginning. I feel like, and even with you and the powder group, I feel like you guys are going to shake shit up as well. We're making a huge difference in this world. I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so proud that we're all connected in some way in a circle. And a circle is a big symbolic, beautiful shape. And we got to keep that going. I keep saying that I'm the student, forever student of the University of Mother Nature. And I love learning from other fellow beauties like yourselves. And I will not stop. We're here to just make an impact in other people's lives. Um, and I really hope that that continues. And imagine that everyone does a little bit of that every day. Like, how much of a difference are we going to make? Like, it sounds euphoric, but I feel like it sounds like a reality. Like, it sounds a little bit of an artist renaissance that I feel we can really make a difference. I don't know.
So there's another quote that comes to me a lot, and it's from Sister Ida Ford, who was a Marinol sister martyred in El Salvador. And it's from a letter she wrote to her 16-year-old niece who was living in Brooklyn. And she mailed it right before she was killed. And in that letter, she says, I hope you come to find that which is worth living for, maybe even worth dying.
Mm,
I can't tell you what it is or what those things are, but all I can do is support you in the search. And that has always really spoken to me, because I think that's the other thing that we're called to do, is sometimes help other people figure out who they are and what they're doing and where they want to go. And for me, that's kind of where I see my role. Um, uh, I want to use my platform and my voice and my experience and my knowledge to be able to help others be their best selves, not
yeah,
just career wise, but in like who they are and who they
yeah,
want to be. So I
love
appreciate
that.
putting this together and giving people.
Yes. So this is your time to plug all the things. And where can we follow you? Where can we sign up for your workshops? What is happening next? Because I want to sign up. I'm so excited for this.
I'm gonna put a hat on for that. Um, we are, yeah, it's busy. My personal Instagram at Vincent Makeup, I kind of watershed everything there. Rebels and Outlaws, we are growing and growing. In addition to the candles, and now we're doing incense. We've partnered with B3 Cosmetics, and so we're going to be doing manifesting body creams and oils and
Yes. I love
in
it.
all
Mind,
of the
body,
same
soul.
in all of the same creations. We don't work with any synthetics, so everything is very natural. And then with the makeup show this year comes into Atlanta for the first time in a while, New York and Chicago this year. And Danessa and Shelly and I have our iArtist program this year, which is all about art and commerce. It's very much about realistic, like a workbook to help you figure out, like, writing your business plan, writing your mission statement, your vision statement, putting you in front of agents, putting you in front of managers, and asking those questions, bringing in people from places like Facebook to advise you on how to build your social presence. And then with the Powder Group, Michael just has so much going on this year, but we've got Evolution, which is our week-long artist retreat in Provincetown that you should totally do.
Yes.
It is a
Okay.
game
Okay.
changer. And we've got mindful action it's 6 programs a year, and this is just a kind of about the wellness and the wholeness, but in a very active way of kind of identifying your own wellness and putting a plan in place. And then there's education all the time at the Powder Group. There's so many programs, and if you want to see Rebels and Outlaws, you can always look at us at Rebels and Outlaws on Instagram, or at the Powder Group, or at the Makeup Show. I'm kind of everywhere.
Or at the Makeup Altar too.
The Makeup Altar, I don't have any programs set up with Melanie right now, but we sell at the Makeup Altar. But as far as like education and mentorship, and I'm now even doing, Joe DeLude and I have our own studio, Vessel Studios, here in Rhode
Very
Island.
cool.
We're going to be putting together programs about art and mindfulness. So not so makeup
Okay.
driven, but things
Yeah.
much more about the whole self.
So rad. Congratulations on everything, babe. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate all the input, all the feedback. You guys go follow James. You have Mindful Artist Podcast, your one-stop shop place for all things creativity, mindfulness, and balancing your spirituality while being an entrepreneur. You guys, that song you're about to hear is called Mi Corazón. You can download Mi Corazón wherever you download your favorite music. Until the next time, make an impact in somebody's life. Much love and light to you all. Thank you, James. Love you.
Thank you, babe. Love you. Thank you for everything.
Bye, everybody.